Are you looking for an athletic scholarship? You're in the right place. This is the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast, the longest-running podcast on recruiting and athletic scholarships. We're here to help your family navigate the recruiting road all the way to an athletic scholarship. He's a recruiting expert and a dad of 2 college athletes. He has a wealth of experience to share. Here's Recruit Me CEO, Brent Hanks.
Welcome to episode 408 of the Athletic Scholarship Podcast. This episode is part 2 of a 2-part interview with Scott McCowan. Scott is a former college basketball and football player at the NCAA level and former college basketball coach. And the most important now is the father of a current NCAA Division I basketball player. Raegan, Scott's daughter, just finished her freshman year as a Lady Leatherneck at Western Illinois University. Raegan, a 5'11 guard-forward combo, was a 3-time All-District, 3-time All-Conference, and 3-time All-Academic player for Lebanon High School in Lebanon, Missouri. She also nabbed All-State Honors and Conference Player of the Year in her high school career. She may have proven that she was under-recruited out of high school, but she fit very well at the mid-major Western Illinois and got to compete in the Ohio Valley Conference. When I say fit well, I mean she played in 30 games, starting 28 as a freshman. She averaged 19.4 points per game and 8.1 rebounds. She had a season-high 45-point game and 2 30-point games during her freshman college season. She was named the Freshman of the Week and the Player of the Week in the OVC multiple times and was named to the OVC Newcomer All-Conference Team and First Team Ohio Valley Conference. Last week's episode 407, covered Scott and Raegan's backgrounds, Raegan's decision to go to Western Illinois University, and it got into information about Raegan's freshman year of college. Today's episode, part 2 of a 2-part interview, will cover the family's setting of parameters, some more reasons Raegan chose Western Illinois, and some recruiting advice from Scott. We also get into Raegan's decision to enter the transfer portal and how she decided to stay at Western Illinois. Let's get into part 2 of this interview with Scott McCowan.
We wanted to reach out, we just didn't. That's where some of those services out there that really have an understanding of really how this stuff works really can be such a huge help. I know that because there's so much unknown in really how this works. And so, if you've got some people out there that understand, that maybe have went through this stuff before, that can help you, well, I would definitely say reach out to them that can reach out, that have a contact or a relationship with some of these coaches, because it's everything. Because it really is. It is a crapshoot on where you land. You may have a certain school that you really are like, that's really where I want to go. But just because the way things fall or what they have in their system, it just doesn't work for whatever reason. And so you may get passed over and looked over. And that happened to Raegan at a number of schools where she ended up, we thought she was looked over and it was upsetting. I mean, and I had coached in college. I knew how it worked, but it didn't make it any less upsetting as a parent.
Did you guys sit down as a family and have some parameters of what kind of school she wanted to go to, academics, level of play, different things like that? Did you kind of have those preset in you guys' mind?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we knew some things that we were looking for, definitely. One of the parameters that we had that probably was the most important, I told Raegan, was you want to go where the head coach wants you the most. Not the assistant, not the name on the jersey. You want to go and play for the coach, one that believes in you and one that wants you the most. And that seems so simple, but really that is everything, because that's the one that's going to decide the playing time. And so what happens at these colleges as the assistants recruit players and the head coaches finally puts their final word on the players that they want, the head coach will have players, the assistants will have players, and it's almost like you're their dad. Mm-hmm. You look after them while they're at school, and that's kind of your kid. If your kid is having trouble with a class, the head coach is jumping that assistant coach because what's going on with your kid? And so I knew that I didn't want Raegan to be one of the assistant's kids. I wanted to be the head coach's kid. So that was something ultimately that as we went through this process, we really kind of watched and listened to see if that was what we were doing. Also, we wanted to make sure, too, that academically it fit. She was going to get the degree that she wanted, and they had a network at that school that led her to what she was going to do, because we just play ball for a very short amount of time. We talk about it the rest of our lives, but we really just play for a little bit of time. So really why we're doing this is what we're doing this for is to get a degree. So that was something that we were looking for, was hated that fit. And third, and maybe one of the most important was when you go on these visits, do you fit with these girls? Do you fit with the players that are there? Is the culture something that is a fit for you? You don't want it to be a culture that maybe you've got to change to fit into, but something that really fits you morally. Hey, where are these players at? Is it a party school? Is it kids that are solid, that are there for the right reasons, that are making good decisions? As a parent, that you're turning your child over to these programs, these coaches, these players, this culture. So all those things really play in, and that was the things really that we were looking for.
As Raegan went to Western Illinois, how had their seasons progressed, and were they kind of on the upswing? Was the coach kind of new? What were some of those situations that got her there?
JD Gravina was the coach there. He came really hard after Raegan, really from the start. Once they got on Raegan, they were coming to almost all of our AAU games. They were calling a lot, really developing relationship with Raegan. It was a program that they were in the summit at the time that Raegan committed to them, which is North Dakota, South Dakota, South Dakota State, all those schools, which we weren't really excited about, Brent. But we had heard that they were going to possibly try to get into the Ohio Valley, which really fit better for our family for travel. A lot of Tennessee, Kentucky,
Arkansas
Illinois,
State.
all the schools really that really kind of fit for travel for us. So again, that was something, that we liked as well.
What are a couple of pieces of information that you can pass along to families about recruiting that you did or that you didn't do that you wish you would have done that will kind of help some of our recruiting families?
My first thing I would do is to get with somebody who really knows, that has been through this process. Either they've been recruited, maybe might be your head coach, might be, a service that handles that can help you. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because you think that this thing just organically happens, kind of like what you see on TV, and then it's just going to all fall in place. It doesn't necessarily. You've got to go out and develop relationships with people that already have relationships with coaches, that they can reach out on your behalf and go, listen, that was in our situation. It was our AAU guys that were extremely well connected, would say, hey, listen, you got to come watch this. You got to watch them, and blah, blah, blah. And as a player, that's all you want. If you'll come and watch me, then I'm gonna play, and I'm gonna ball out where I'm gonna show out for you. And that's what you do. And one thing leads to another. But my advice was get with people that have been there before. Definitely.
She obviously had a great freshman year. I think she started 28 games, played in all 30 games, it looked like, from her stats.
Yeah.
It seemed like every time I got on social media, she was the OVC player of the week or newcomer of the week or freshman of the week. And she was first team all OVC. So that kind of put her in a interesting situation with the transfer portal. So she, late in March, after the season, announced she was going to go into the transfer portal. Can you tell us a little bit how that came about, what happened during the time of the transfer portal, and then her ultimate decision, I think, was to stay at Western Illinois?
Yeah, absolutely. We had mentioned earlier, we had felt like, and Raegan had felt like, she was kind of under recruited. She thought that she could play at a higher level. She had a really strong freshman year, at Western. As crazy as this thing is, she just said, Dad, I think I want to at least find out, hey, could I play at the highest level at the Power 5 conferences? And she sat down and talked to her head coach and said, listen, I'm thinking about jumping the transfer portal, but I'm not sure about this. And it was a really hard decision for her to do that. I mean, I think her head coach was freaking out a little bit on that, but he set her down to his credit, and he said, listen, Reg, he said, if this doesn't work out as you go through this process and it's not everything that you think it's going to be, I want to let you know that we welcome you back with open arms. Even if you go to another school and after 1 year you're there, if you want to come back, we'll welcome you back. We want you back here. And I think that meant a lot to Raegan. I think in the back of her mind, she always knew that she had that safety net. And so when she did sign up to enter the transfer portal, what you do is you go into your athletic director's office, and your compliance director is there, and you physically sign the piece of paper, and then they send that out, and it hits electronically out there for all these coaches that are monitoring this. And she had, in the first hour that she was in the transfer portal, she had 25 phone calls on her cell phone stuff, emails, text. I think she was taken back, honestly, by all that, but it was reaffirming. Of course, of the next couple of days, she weeded all of the East Coast and West Coast stuff out. Didn't want to be farther from her family, and so she had narrowed it down really to the Power Five conference schools in the Midwest. She went through that, and it was kind of like, if I could liken it to anything, it was like speed dating. It was like you had to get to know these coaches on the phone quickly. You got online, you looked at all the information to see, hey, is this something? What do they have coming back? What's in my position? All that stuff. And then she tried to narrow it down to what she was going to, what schools, and ended up, she narrowed it down to Mizzou, Missouri State, Iowa State, Oklahoma State, and Wisconsin. Then she had to go on visits, and it's just like starting all over. And so after all that, and I mean, you go to these schools and they want to talk about NIL, name, image, and likeness money, where they're paying you to do things for, a name, image, and likeness, commercials or whatever. We had some that was offering cars and different stuff like that. And again, for a small town girl, it was enlightening without a doubt. And after all of that stuff and going through all that enticements to come and play and all this, she really just came back to, I want to go where I'm the most comfortable. And to her credit, we're very strong in our faith, Brent. And we had tried to pray through this whole process. Raegan said, Dad, I just have to tell you that I feel like God's telling me I need to stay at Western Illinois. And to be honest with you, I was like, are you sure? But, as a dad, I could not be more proud of her, to be honest with you, Brent. She turned all that stuff down really and followed where she felt like her faith had led her. And so she's back, and we're just ready to have a great year, and we hope it all turns out great.
Are you getting the feeling that coaches they're kind of expecting to re-recruit their kids?
Yeah.
Especially at mid-levels. Western would be like a mid-major type, and that conference would be like just outside the Power Five. People are going to come calling, and you can't really blame a kid for...
I couldn't imagine coaching right now, honestly, Brent.
Yeah.
I couldn't, because you would work so hard to build a team at that mid-major level, whether it's Western Illinois or Missouri State or whatever. And then if you have first-team all-conference players, they're just immediately swallowed up by the Power Fives. I remember we went to a game right before Thanksgiving break at Western, and the head coach came by and he said, hey, I'm going to be down at your house Friday. I said, hold on, what? Why are you coming to my house on Friday? Is something wrong? And he said, no, I just want to visit with you. And so he shows up at our house Friday after Thanksgiving, and he walked in, and we, just normal, nice stuff. And he pulled out a piece of paper front and back, and he had written all over this thing. And I said, what is that, JD? And he said, just shut up. Just listen to me. I got some things I have to say. And we have a good relationship. I said, okay. And he said, listen, I'm here to re-recruit Raegan. And I said, what do you mean? He said, listen, I can already see where this thing is going.
Yeah.
She's killing it. And I know that there's going to be people contacting you, and they do, they DM you and different stuff like that, or tell people that, mutual friends, to reach back around and contact you, which is funny. They don't do it directly, but it's through like 2 or 3 different channels to come back to talk to you. He just said, listen, here's the deal. And to his credit, everything that he said, one, it came to pass, but 2, he was out in front of it with Raegan. And I just thought that was brilliant. It was smart to take some time to re-recruit, to reaffirm to her, listen, we're going to have a great year, but this is what's probably going to happen. And so here we are.
Well, and it used to kind of happen at the graduate year. You could play your 4 years and then maybe go graduate.
Right.
That was kind of expected. Now, like in Raegan's case and thousands of other college student athletes, it's an every year type of deal. And coaches can leave anytime they want to. So why can't players, stick their toe in the water?
Exactly. I thought, to Raegan's credit, as he went through this, Raegan said, Coach, I have one question for you. And he said, what is it? She said, let's say we have a good year and we go to the NCAA tournament, and some of the Power 5 conferences come after you and basically put you in the coaches portal. What do? Do you turn them down, or do you talk to them? And without missing a beat, he said, you know what? He said, I'm not telling you I wouldn't check it out. He said, but you'd be going with me.
This is real life. You guys are kind of experiencing a new frontier, just
Yeah.
a year or two old in recruiting. So you're going through the recruiting process. This, you may go through it another couple times. She's going to get calls whether she wants them or not after this year, probably too. So it's probably either choice would have been the right choice for her, Scott. That's kind of a neat thing.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you there. It was a win-win, maybe, whatever you do. The difference is if you went to another school, you'd have to re-earn your stripes. You'd have to re-earn your team's respect. You'd have to learn a new coaching system. The schools would be bigger. You'd play on national TV and have more money and, a new Jeep and different stuff. But it's still about relationships. It just still is. She's got some really good friends up there. They weren't offering any of this stuff to her friends to come with her, and her coach was still there. And so, I guess my advice to people is find some place where you can really develop some deep relationships, because if we know anything in life, that's really what it's all about anyway.
Well, it's been fun watching her, knowing you, and just getting to see her as she popped up on social media, and then just getting to see the recognition that she got as the season went on. And that recognition is because of hard work and because she's talented. And sometimes that doesn't show. Like you said, she was a little bit under recruited in high school. And now she can kind of prove to people, say, hey, it's kind of like Tom Brady, like, hey, you didn't draft me high enough. I'm going to show you.
Right.
Good luck to you guys for the upcoming season. Hey, she's going to have some tough decisions as she goes through the next 3 years, I think.
Yes.
If she keeps developing and keeps doing well, they're going to come knocking on her door.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
That's right.
That's all I can say. Right now, we're just focused in on being a Western Illinois Leatherneck and doing the best. And there's just a lot of work still left to do, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of individual work, a lot of time in the gym, and a lot still left to prove.
We will keep an eye on her, and maybe when she gets out of school here in the next week or two, maybe I can get a hold of her, and maybe we'll get her on and get her side of see how much Dad bragged about his high school and college career.
Absolutely, Brent. I appreciate your time.
Well, Scott, we appreciate it. I'll reach out to you guys again, and we wish Raegan and your family luck and prayers throughout the season. And we'll be watching and rooting for the Leathernecks. I mean, that's the first time I've ever said that.
That's right. Brent, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for giving me some time.
Well, thanks for your time, Scott.
You bet.
Again, thank you to Scott for his time, information, and advice. Good luck again to Raegan in her future endeavors. Thank you for listening to the Athletic Scholarship Podcast, and I'll see you next week.